Hey guys, Stents here, also known as Alpha 5 for the Rangers Dojo, and I've got what I think is the last of the deck profiles for the tournament that we're running on the YouTube channel right now. This is Water Dark Fire Control, popularized by, I think, Eric Areola at Texas KMC back in the day. Um, of note, this is a 48 card control deck that doesn't run Light, so that's really impressive. Light is by far the best civ in the game, excluding any bans or anything like that, because of just how it can interact with everybody else and your opponent's board. And let's just jump right into it. This deck is super satisfying to play. We got 3 Grudge Weaver. Basic low-cost blocker, lets you that makes your opponent really think about how they have to attack and when and where and why, and it has a great effect when it dies on board, plus it's just early board presence. Next, 3 Cyberwalker Kaylee. This thing doesn't see a lot of competitive play, but in a deck like this, it is a star. This thing, power attacker plus 2000, uh, it can attack tapped creatures in the turn it enters battle, so it's kind of like Rush and Hearthstone. I wouldn't call it fast attack because it's really not fast attack, but it's similar. And eject, when this creature would be banished, return to the hand, so you can get a lot of procs off with some of your other cards and effects with this card, and you don't feel as bad for it. In the late game, it doesn't do a whole lot besides just be a recurring card in your hand, so this really helps you control an aggressive board early on. Take some trades that would be usually unfavorable, where you have to like trade 1 for 1, but then it goes back to your hand, and then you're not doing a whole lot with turns 4 through 5 anyway, so it's great. Next, Fumes. Uh, Kind of a staple for a control deck that doesn't run Light. You gotta run Fumes. Discarding cards from your opponent's hand is super valuable, just keeps them on the back foot, makes their decisions harder. Helaflame. No, it's not Gillaflame. It's Helaflame. Um, Fast attack and blurring speed. So basically, this card is just kind of your recurring beater. I like it at 1 of. Maybe 2 would be too much, but I like this at 1 of because you could drop it, you could smack your opponent's thing, uh, and then before your opponent can kind of kill this thing off, it comes back to your hand, and then you can use it as mana or just smack your opponent's thing again. And it's a really hard card to play around. So this is a really good card to put pressure on aggro, because they always have to be kind of sweating. Well, what is it? The Geo Flame could really mess me up here. Next, Kronax the Brutal, another card that doesn't see a ton of play, but I personally love this card. When this guy enters the battle zone, choose one of your cards that gets Slayer, and choose one of your opponent's cards. It can Actually, no, I apologize. One of your creatures gets Slayer, and choose another creature. It can be the same creature or a different creature, and it can attack creatures as though they were tapped. So basically, you can make one of your dudes able to attack untapped creatures and a Slayer. This synergizes so well with Fumes, or Kaylee, or anything else that's a little bit of a smaller card. It really kind of puts your opponent on the back foot, and it keeps your synergies rolling and rolling and rolling. Um, Plus, it really takes off those really hard to remove cards on your opponent's side of the board because it doesn't target them at any point. You can just target them for an attack. Um, Next, Tatsurian the Unchained. This is a cute tech. I'm not sure if this is absolutely worth it, but it's a really fun card when it works. Uh, Plus, when it just enters the battle zone, it's a removal, and whenever it wins a battle for the first time, untap it. So this card can do a whole lot. It can make a whole lot of things work that didn't necessarily need to. And by that I mean, uh, you have some removal, but you don't need to use your premium removal on when you have a Tatsurian on the board, because you could just kill 2 things with 1 attack anyway. And especially as a control deck, you don't need to be hitting shields super early, so you're good there. 3, Finbar's Dreadnought. This card is super essential to the deck. First, when it enters the battle zone, it's just free draw, but that's not the important part. The important part is every time one of your creatures would be banished, return to the hand, so everything turns into a Cyberwalker Kaylee. Um, this is really important for your synergies with Overlord Sargon, because you can kill your stuff, send it back to the hand, kill your stuff, send it back to the hand, kill your stuff, send it back to the hand, and you keep getting procs for a lot less investment than you would otherwise need. Next, Squillace Scourge. We've talked about Squillace Scourge a ton. It's an incredible card. Infernus the Awakened, we've also talked about a ton. It's an incredible card, almost bannable. Um, the fact that it can just shut out a lot of rush decks just from the game entirely is kind of dirty, but, good card is good. It's kind of... I'm really glad that we're not running Bottle of Wishes in this list, because being able to hit Infernus off of Bottle of Wishes turn 1 is... or turn 2, I guess, if your opponent's attacking, is just terrifying. Finally, Overlord Sargon. We'll talk about this is the card that this deck is built around. Um, when it attacks, you can choose one of your creatures and banish it. If you do, kill one of your opponent's creatures that is 5,000 or less. Why do you want to kill off your own creatures? Well, because there's no downside. So you can attack with the Kaylee. Kaylee's tapped. It trades over something. Then you attack with the Sargon. Kill off the Kaylee. Kaylee goes back to your hand. Um, and then you kill one of your opponent's creatures. The Sargon attacks. Sargon has fast attack, if I didn't already mention. So you kill one of your opponent's creatures. Now you've killed 2 creatures or 3 creatures, and you can play Kaylee next turn and just do this all again. You can synergize with Grudge Weaver, kill it off. Heal of Flame can go back to your hand if the Dreadnought's on the field. Like, there's just so many combos. Coronex doesn't do anything after it's already been played, so it's an ideal target for this. I just could just go on and on. It's a really, really fun synergy, and it just lets you kind of hit your opponent's stuff and not feel bad about it. Next, Two Blaze Helix. This card is really, really good. It pretty much is the only way we have here to combat like a Haven deck. But it also can be used as a really good control tool just to say, okay, let's attack all of your things that you thought were safe because they weren't tapped. So this is your proxy light card, right? This basically is your Storm Spark Blast that you can't hit off shields in that sense. Next, you got Three Bone Blades. One of the best removal spells in the game. Easy, obviously good card. Next, we got a Tech Maddening Whispers and a Tech Skull Shatter. Maddening Whispers is more for the mid-range matchup because it makes their mid-game decisions really, really hard when they've come down to 2 or 3 cards in their hand. They think they're going to drop an evolution creature next turn, and they even got 1 extra card just in case. But no, not for you. Skull Shatter. This is actually for the control matchup. Skull Shatter is, it's turn 10. My opponent's got like 9 cards in hand, and get rid of all of them. They're probably going to cry. Offer them a Kleenex, because this card is just so good when it comes to really just winning you this control matchup. If you note, outside of Infernus the Awakened, we really don't have a lot of cards here that let us fight the control matchup outside of that Skull Shatter. So for that reason, I really think the Maddening Whisperers can go, and we should have Skull Shatter at 2. Or we should go up to Squillace. It depends on how many multi-civs are in the deck. Very quickly, I'm counting 3 Kaylee, 3 Cronex, that brings us to 6. 3 Sargon, that brings us to 9. 2 Grip of Despair, that brings us to 11. And Squillace brings us to 12. So only 12 multi-civs. We could honestly ditch Skull Shatter and go up to Squillace, but if you really don't want the downside, I'm happy with 1 Squillace and then maybe 2 Skull Shatters. But I think we already win the mid-range matchup anyway. So I digress. Crystal Memory, just a tutor for really important combo pieces or things to make your opponent feel bad about themselves. Drill Storm for the aggro matchup. Mesmerize for every matchup because Mesmerize is insane. Grip of Despair is just as a good defensive blast and it helps us fill out our color pie a little bit. Logo Scan to help us draw because it's one of the most important draw cards in the game. And outside of playing Kaylee or Mesmerizing, we really don't have a play on 3. So Logos keeps the hand filled. And then Terror Pit because it's just good removal. I skimmed through that one a little bit quickly, but I think the really interesting points here are in the creature section, and then our utility section over here just kind of is obvious in terms of what it does. If you understand, your cycle of, rush beats aggro, aggro beats mid-range, mid-range beats combo and control for the most part, and then depending on how combo is built, it could beat anything or it could beat nothing. And if you understand that cycle, then our removal package and our utility package is sort of obvious. But yeah, this is a really fun deck. This is a really interesting deck. I can't wait to kind of touch this up. There are very few things that I would touch in this deck. I would maybe like to see some Ripper Reapers. I would like to see some what's it called? Gloom Spy. I think it was a Dojo edition card. 4 mana, 1,000. When this creature dies, your opponent discards a card and you draw a card. I think that's a little bit better than Fumes in this deck. Play with the ratios on Maddening Mishers, maybe a second Heal of Flame. Not sure if we actually need the Grip of Despairs. We've already got a lot of defensive stuff here. Stuff like that. Simple stuff. I look forward to making videos on that in the future. So, with that said, I'm going to leave it there. This is Alpha 5, also known as Stents with the Rangers Dojo, signing off. See you guys next time. Peace.